About turmeric. So, pop into Google. Now, the reason I'm thinking about turmeric is because it seems to be a very popular health trend. Yay, eat turmeric, everything will be better. Which may or may not be true, I don't know. Part of intellectual rigor is checking. Even if you think it's probably false, you gotta check. You can't just say, oh, that's crazy. It might not be crazy. Some old wives' tales are actually true. Vitamin C helps your immune system. There are people who study these things. So it's worth checking. Don't just dismiss stuff. Don't just believe stuff. Be somewhere in the middle. So, nonetheless, going to Google, typing in turmeric. Oh, and that's going to give me stuff about food, right? I know that it stains. I know you don't want it anywhere near your kitchen, but that's not the question I have today. So let's spell health properly and have a look and see what we come up with. So we've got Healthline. I have no idea what Healthline is. Let's find out. Who is Healthline.com? Now, the first thing we see, of course, is Healthline's About Us. Do you think that is a good place to go to find out actual information about people, about a source? People who are trying to tell you things are probably not going to tell you, hey, we're lying, but come read this anyway. It's not going to happen, right? So, these are always an interesting set of questions. Is Healthline.com a reliable site? Who is Healthline funded by? Is Healthline a peer-reviewed journal? That's a good question. I want an answer. It is a peer-reviewed open access publication, so that's a good sign. Healthline review. Now, ooh. Oh, no, that's Health News Review. I don't even know who that is. So I want to go to Healthline Wikipedia. Now, here's the thing. Wikipedia is not the devil. Wikipedia should never be the only place you look. It should not be the last place you look, but it is a good place to find generalized information. And here's something else they do. So here is a website, health provider. It has a global ranking of 188 by Alexa. I don't even know what that means. Does that mean something? Who said that? Alexa.com? That's a thing? Okay, anyway, we're not going to get sidetracked, though. We are talking about how to side check sources. It was founded as YourDoctor.com by endocrine specialist James Norman. So this is something is losing money, partnership agreement with Summit. It's a competitor of WebMD, USA Today, but I don't know USA Today partners with that. There's nothing here. So there's a little bit of sales going on. That's true. So Wikipedia is not really helping me on this one. I don't know who Rapid Review is. Oh, now here's the thing. Reddit can actually also be a good source of information. I know this is going to be a little bit crazy, but bear with me here because Reddit often has people citing sources. Crazy, right? But a lot of people who are on Reddit practice intellectual rigor. A lot of subreddits require that you link to sources. You can't just randomly say things, which is kind of cool. So Reddit can be a good source of information provided whatever you're reading is sourced. So we don't know. This particular Reddit doesn't help us. So the only thing we're really getting is Healthline Journal, which... What? This is Crazy Town. Is that the same? Is that the same Healthline? That doesn't look like the same Healthline. That's not the same Healthline. There's two Healthlines. Okay, so here's where I stop because there's two of them. Now, I don't know if this is an actual National Journal of Indiana, so anybody can slap a website together, right? We don't know, so you got to check. I'm curious. Healthline, National Organization. I didn't mean to fall down this rabbit hole. Okay. Wow. Now, here's the thing. It can be really hard to find. Yep, no, this is from them. So this is, okay, well, hang on. Here we go. Peer review process follows a double-blind peer review process. Following the speed of manuscript, you got to do the X, Y, and Z. Now, this is a bizarre rabbit hole that I did not intend to fall down, but hey, we're here, so let's run with it. This is actually useful. So when you have something that is the official publication, yes, they could have just made this up, but that seems unlikely. And it can be very hard to find. Actually, here's what we do. I am a silly girl because Healthline, JSTOR. JSTOR is the, wow, maybe not. So again, I've gone down to that I can't actually tell. I cannot find enough information to know. We've got two things called Healthline, one of which may or may not be a peer-reviewed journal out of India. Intriguing. So we have one Healthline that's a journal in India. We have no articles in JSTOR, JSTOR being the repository of all sort of peer-reviewed journals in the world, I thought. It could just be in the States. We don't have information. So at the end of the day, I don't even want to read it. I don't want to know. I'm a little bit annoyed that they're the #1 listing. Look at this. They're the #1 listing, and I can't figure out who they are. Whether they are a reliable source of information. So we're going to ignore that one. We're going to go back to turmeric because I came in here to talk about turmeric. We're still side-checking sources. That was tutorial 1. Now we're side-checking sources for the original thing. Now you can use WebMD. They're vaguely, thing. Here is generally what I do when I first land on a page and don't get sidetracked by something I'm curious about. Is I look down and I see we got WebMD again, we got NCCIH at NAO, so that's the National Institute of Health, so that's a governmental agency in the United States. Medical News Today, I have no idea. Nuffield Health, not a clue in the world. Prescription List, no, that's trying to sell me something. Everyday Health, Healthcare, Utah.education, so that's University of Utah. I don't know if they're good at this. And then we got the Mayo Clinic. So in this first page of results, we don't actually have that many great results, but we got Mayo Clinic. Now, Mayo Clinic is fabulous because they're the Mayo Clinic. And if you don't know who they are, you should side-check it. Now, here is something that's of interest. The very first thing that we see is that they're talking about a study. Right? The very first thing they do is give us a link, and giving us a link is really important because they're saying, here's my evidence, here's where you can go to find it. Now, if I weren't sure where I was, I would, in fact, go check and make sure, because you can link to anything. If you don't click the link, it can go anywhere. But this is, in fact, the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America, which is not a bad place to get information. Wow. Okay, so I don't know what any of this means. I have no idea. But the people who wrote the article for the Mayo Clinic probably do. So I'm going to go back and say thank you for giving me a source and see what you have to say about that. So that's an active ingredient. In turmeric, it can help with cancer. That's strange because, so I already, of course, did this before filming it, although you wouldn't know from the rabbit hole I fell down a minute ago, but I did check this out before filming this, and it said that there wasn't enough information. Yeah, that was the takeaway, is that it's not like it's going to kill you, but there's not enough information to support the fact that it's doing all these amazing things. There's some information to lead us in the direction that it's doing amazing things, which is great. That's evidence to support possibly including turmeric in your diet or talking to your doctor or what have you. But so we got associated with positive effects. That doesn't mean that it's proven to do anything. It's just saying there's possibly some causality going up here. So possible causality is always good, which means it's not bad. Moving back along, so we have that. We have, who is the NCCIH? The NCCIH It's the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, government agency. I didn't know we had that. That's very cool. So we have, and they, if you ever want to check out what studies are happening in alternative and complementary medicine, this might be a good place to look. Go straight to a good source. Never a bad idea. But I was just checking to see what they are. Oh, yeah, we're not going to go there because the other thing I want to do is Medical News Today. Okay, that sounds promising, right? Medical News Today. I don't know that that's promising because to me, this sounds like, and it looks all professional, and I got to accept a privacy policy, which I'm not going to do. Newsletter, yeah, see, this looks very polished, but I bet you anything that this is not a real medical site. And how do I know that? Because it's called Medical News Today. Ooh. Look at that. The first question that comes up, this is promising. That means people are checking their sources. So the very first thing that comes up is media bias fact check. I'm going to come back to that for a second. I'm going to see Wikipedia. And again, Wikipedia is not a bad source of information. Healthline Media. Who's Healthline Media? Who the heck is Healthline Media? And a reference is Alexa. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is a website that has really the only information they have is PR. That's not good. That's bad. That's very bad. They're a part of this Healthline Media that nobody can figure out who they are. And the only references I have are from their PR, their press releases, from their own website. Oh no, that's Alexa. It's a tiny voice in your phone. That's not a thing. Okay, so we got nothing. So I don't want to trust this site. I really do not suggest trusting this site because they're not giving me any evidence. Right here, let me just give you for comparison. We're going to go to the New York Times Wikipedia section. I was feeling lucky, but there we go. Now, in fairness, they have been around, but they've been around for 2006. That's 15 years. They've generated no links whatsoever. That's worrying. So the New York Times, however, we've got a history. We've got the organizational staff. Look at how long this page is. This is a thing. Okay, it's been around since 1861. They've done a couple of things. Reputation. Hang on. Now, this is also a good place to look. Reputation, and there should be one called, controversy as well. So Reputation tells you, and you have sources. So the Yale Center for Teaching and Learning has talked about it. A survey of newspaper editors, so people who are in the same business, found that it's the best American paper. And we've got, again, sources. What if the rankers ranked the newspapers? I love the Post. We're running a story saying we're not the best newspaper in the world. That's okay. So this is really useful, right? This is a handy trick. This is why we go to Wikipedia. Because if I want to find stuff, look at all of this great source material I have. Studies in Eastern European nationalism. The Foreign Office and the Famine, British documents on Ukraine. Okay, see, this is how I fall down rabbit holes. This is not what you need to do. The other thing that you can also usually see is, where are you? There's been a lot of controversies. Accusation of liberal bias, 2016 election, Jason Player, there's been some plagiarism. So all of the things that were maybe not so good or arguably not so good are in here. I can see for myself and make a decision, for myself based on the evidence that I am being provided with. This is what a page should look like, right? Not that. Now, just to go a little meta here for a second, media bias fact check review. All right, media bias fact check. Happy birthday, Wikipedia. Media bias fact check was, what was that about? It's an oh yeah, good. An amateur effort to rate news media sources based on factual accuracy and political bias. That's not good. Um, so here's what they're actually saying. You got the methodology. The methodology is saying that they're just kind of guessing based on the way that they choose their words, whether they're biased or not, which is not a bad thing. But I'm not sure there should be a whole website devoted to it. So yeah. It's widely sorted for news stories and even studied about misinformation, despite the fact that this method is in no way scientific. How do you check bias in media? Well, you see all their articles and you see how many articles on what topics. Yeah, if you're at the Daily Cause or the Daily Wire, you are going to see all pro or all anti certain agendas. It's very clear. In fact, they're at least very honest. They say right up front that they are biased, but for someone that doesn't, it's you check the content. What are they actually writing about? Not, I think that they might use words that, okay. So, media bias fact check is not something that we should trust, and it's the number one source when, it was the number one source we're trying to figure out whether, I'm curious now, whether medical news today is reliable, which I think it might not be. What is media, but what does some random person say? They say it's pro-science. That doesn't mean anything. What does that mean? What? What? Alternative medicine, which is considered a pseudoscience? Alternative medicine isn't considered a pseudoscience when it's scientifically studied. If you do a double-blind, placebo-controlled study on the benefits of turmeric, you're going to get results about turmeric. It's not de facto pseudoscience because it happens to be something that's been around for a long time. So, personally, I now think media bias fact check is a whole bunch of not terribly bright people. But that's okay. We're just going to go ahead and get rid of that and leave all of these crazy things going on. So that is the falling down the rabbit hole. Obviously, if you are doing some actual research on the health benefits of turmeric and side checking or laterally reading to find out more about your sources, you would not have to fall down the rabbit holes that I fell down, although I would argue it's kind of fun. I hope this helps you figure out how to become a better consumer of information. Thanks, and see you next time.